Welcome to Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams. And with me, of course, the man, the legend himself, Christopher King. Hope you all had a wonderful and safe holiday weekend. Thanksgiving is in the rearview mirror. And Chris, bad Thursday for the Cowboy fans out there. Good Thursday for the Buffalo Bills fans. Sunday, it was a mixed bag of stuff. It's been a pretty intense, past few days. Reflect, if you will, on what you saw over this holiday weekend.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, you have to feel bad for Dan Campbell and the Lions again, who again stole victory from the jaws of defeat by giving up a last-second field goal. That's the third or fourth time this season they've had that happen. We saw the 66-yard doink off the crossbar with Baltimore. Then they lost to Minnesota on a 50-plus yarder. Then they lost this one. They had the tie against Pittsburgh where nobody wanted to win. You got to feel bad there. For Dallas, well, Dallas did their best to give the game away, and they did. I mean, you can't get called for 87 pass interference calls. You've seen the flags are going to get thrown, and you keep trying to do the same thing over and over again. You deserve to lose.
It was laundry day in Dallas. There's no question about that.
And now, Dallas is going to come back. They're going to play Thursday night. They're going to be minus a bunch of coaches. Mike McCarthy, I guess, is the latest to join that group. One has to wonder if that'll help Dallas.
Oh, well, Mike also is involved in the play calling, so maybe it will. You never know.
And, like you said, Buffalo beat New Orleans. The big loss was the losing Tre'Davious White, though, for the season.
Sure.
It's going to be interesting to see how Leslie Frazier atones for that, whether they go out and get someone like Nicole Roby-Coleman from the Lions practice squad or Daryl Worley, or whether Dane Jackson is going to step up into a starting role.
It's going to be interesting. Of course, yesterday we had all kinds of crazy. We had the Bucs taking it to last minute to win on the road.
And they tried to give it away too. How do you give up a 71-yard kick return when the guy takes it 5 yards deep in the end zone after you tried to run the clock down to score?
That one is a mystery. There's no question. Although Bruce Arians at the end of the game said yesterday that we won despite ourselves.
And you have to feel bad. Why the Colts? Sure, Tampa Bay has a very good front seven. They have a good run defense. Why do you go away from your strengths and try to throw the ball that many times? Sure, Tampa Bay has no secondary. They lost Jamal Dean in that game too.
Mm-hmm.
But still, you play to your strengths. You don't play to somebody else's weaknesses, and that's basically what cost Frank Reich the game.
It does. And in the case of we all know Carson Wentz can manage a game, but if you put it on his shoulders to win a game, you're taking a big chance. And
and that's basically
what I want to take that chance.
You just saw them run all over a very good Buffalo defense last week, and then you turn around and Jonathan Taylor has 40 yards in the fourth quarter before you start handing him the ball.
Yeah, it's nuts. We also, but just before we get to all the good stuff of what happened, if you would have paid attention, okay, if all you have to do, folks, is pay attention to this guy over here. Or over this way, Mr. King, wherever he is. You see the guy next to me.
The other guy in the picture.
The other guy in the picture. He would have made you a lot of money. But before we get there, two quick observations. Billy Napier, outstanding job he did at Louisiana. He's now the head coach of the Florida Gators. A lot more resources. They love him because he's a recruiter. They love him because he's had success working alongside Nick Saban and Dabo Sweeney, which I know you won't hold against him because it was he didn't stay. He left. But then the other's Lincoln Riley, moving from Oklahoma to USC, which personally I think was a brilliant move on his part. But your observation, sir.
Well, I mean, you've already seen some of the dominoes fall because of that. I mean, you've already seen 3 or 4 people decommit from Oklahoma, including the number 2 quarterback in the 2023 class behind Arch Manning.
Right.
How is this going to affect Oklahoma going forward? Who are they going to get to step into that void? I've already heard Cliff Kingsbury of the Cardinals being mentioned, and he has familiarity, of course, coaching and playing in the Big 12 from Texas Tech. Would he jump back to the college football after having this success with the Cardinals? I don't know. As for USC, Well, the Pac-12 is terrible every year. They always find a way to put themselves out of CFP contention by the end of September because they inevitably lose to somebody that they shouldn't lose to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think Clay Helton did that bad of a job. I think that he kind of got railroaded because of the fact that they had these high expectations that didn't match the personnel. Will Riley have success there? I don't know because we haven't seen him necessarily recruit people from out there, and he's going to have to compete against Mario Cristobal and guys like that to get them to come. And people are going to look at USC's track record and say, "Well, this has been a mediocre team for 5-6 years now."
Well, he has done some recruiting out there and has come away pretty decently. But the way I look at it is this: okay, Oklahoma is leaving the Big 12 and headed to the SEC, which is fine. He didn't want the LSU job. Frankly, I don't want the LSU job. Not that they called me, but if they did, no.
So they may call you tomorrow. You never know.
You never know. That's true. The names keep flicking off the list, but out there, he just has to beat Oregon and Utah. Okay, maybe Chip gets something going at UCLA. Maybe not. I personally, if you're going to give me that money, I like my odds of recruiting Southern California. And, he does have a list of former Heisman Trophy winners and people who were of that ilk in his repertoire. So,
but you also have to think about they're not even the best school in their state now. I mean, San Diego State has been a lot better than any of the Pac-12 schools from the state of California in recent years.
No, you're right. I'm just saying Lincoln Riley has a name and a track record.
That's true.
And he actually has been to more CFP playoff games than the entire conference. Okay. So
that's not saying a whole lot, though, because we said
the bar's not high there, Chris. The bar's not high. But I'd take the SC job over the LSU job because the pressure at LSU to win, which we saw with Ed Orgeron, who got fired with exactly the same record as Jimbo Fisher, and he won a national championship. We also saw what happened to Danny Mullen in Florida. He's in the championship game 11 months ago. Neither of these guys got stupid in the last, 24 months in Orgeron's case or in the last 11 months in Danny's case. But, the expectations of these schools are so high that absolutely 100% the pressure's there. It is not that if he gets SC back, if we're talking about Lincoln now, if he can get SC back competitively, okay, where they are, playing every year for at least a Pac-12 title, if they can get a 10-game win season out there, he's golden, okay, because the expectations are not as high. You go to LSU, you better be involved in winning a national championship. So I think personally, if I'm Lincoln and I'm leaving Oklahoma for whatever reason, I'm definitely happy going west rather than going to the Southeastern Conference.
And I wonder if part of the rationale is, they just lost to Oklahoma State, so now all of a sudden, you're not in the Big 12 title game. You're not going to be and remotely considered for playing in a major bowl.
Sure.
Did that help lead to his sudden exodus? Because nobody was talking about him going to USC leading into Saturday night.
No, he was the number one place that everybody thought he was going was LSU.
Right, and nobody had even mentioned USC.
No.
And you heard him say Saturday at his press conference, "I am not taking the job at LSU,"
which was true. Okay, he absolutely was true. The problem is nobody asked him the follow-up question was, okay, you're not taking the LSU job. Are you taking any other job? I mean, are you taking a Florida job? Are you taking, what? Nobody said that. They just asked, okay, the LSU job. Okay, fine. You're not going to take it? Fine.
I mean, you have to wonder, would he have taken the Kansas job at this point just to get out of Lincoln?
No, I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think the Kansas job is something he wanted to do. All right, brother. Now, as I said before, Mr. King knows of what he says and knows of what he speaks. So let's get together here and take a look at what would have happened had you paid attention last week, and you strongly should replay this tape often it will be beneficial to you. And here we go, Chris.
Right, we call it in case you missed it. Things that you missed in the last couple of weeks that we had hit on last week, Tuesday. Actually, we had our 4-teamer with the Flames over the Blackhawks, the Stars over the Oilers, the Trailblazers over the suddenly slumping Nuggets, and the Mavericks over the Clippers. And going back to the 18th, which was a week ago from Thursday, we had the Patriots over the Falcons in that horrible game that nobody wanted to watch. The Penguins over the Canadians in another game that nobody really wanted to watch. And that was also the day that we had the 2, the 4, and the 8-teamer hit that with those days. The 8-teamer, including those great games like North Texas -11 over UT Arlington, the Maple Leafs over the Rangers, the Heat over the Wizards, the Jazz over the Raptors, and that really close football game in Durham where the fans were social distancing when Louisville beat Duke 62-22. Now, if you're scoring at home, just based on the 2 4-teamers and the 8-teamer, had you bet $100, you could have cashed out over 20 grand in those bets.
That's a lot of turkey, my friend.
It is, and here, in South Carolina, you can't actually. They don't allow sports betting, so it's nice to be able to see that come in for somebody else, even if it's vicariously. Just be able to enjoy seeing the fact that some of these teams actually come through, as opposed to, being duds.
Hey, we have a couple comments. Let's take a look at one. Okay. Hey, Alvaro. What's up? How was your Thanksgiving? Fine on my account. And Mr. King there, besides being an outstanding prognosticator and handicapper, is also a good cook. So I'll let him dote on that one for you. But thanks for asking.
There's always plenty of cooking to go on here. And my motto is I like to cook because I like to eat. So that's usually how that works out. They're coinciding. And Nathan, Philly on the money line in the first half. They're facing an Orlando team that is absolutely terrible. The Magic 4-17 this season. They're 3-9 on the road. Surprisingly, they have more wins on the road than they do at home. But the 76ers also having Joel Embiid back tonight. Tobias Harris is back. They're getting back to being at full strength. The Magic are terrible. They won't have Cole Anthony tonight either. I actually like Philadelphia -14 overall in this game. But, I think it's a safe bet to take them on the money line because the Magic don't score.
Well, that is a problem. When you're trying to win games, you normally need points. And if they're not
– That's what they tell me.
Yeah. You're not going to win a lot of games, 2-0. We're not playing the old ACC 4-corner Dean Smith offense. So
you don't get to hold the ball for 11 minutes at a time.
Right, exactly. Play keep away. That's definitely something to look at. So let's move. Now you had a big weekend just keeping up with college basketball. So
it was a very hectic weekend. A lot of tournaments going on. They call it Feast Week for a reason. Because no matter what channel you turn on or, what time of day it is,
right,
there's a game somewhere.
There seemed to be.
I saw most of them.
Well, let's hit the hardwood and see what's going on here. You ready?
All right,
bud. Here we go.
It's a fairly uninspiring schedule when you look at the games today. A lot of teams playing Division II or lower schools to try and pad their records in the early going. But we'll take this one with the Mountain West taking on the Big West. And I'm going to take Wyoming on the road, giving 4.5 over CSU Fullerton. The Cowboys are unbeaten this season, and they're 21st in the nation in scoring offense, putting up more than 84 points a game. They're only giving up 56.8 points per game. They shoot 52% from the floor and 41% from three-point range. Meanwhile, the Titans are 300th in three-point field goal percentage, allowing opponents to shoot better than 37% out there. Wyoming 6-0 in their last 6 as a favorite. They're 4-0 on the road against teams with a winning percentage greater than 600 at home. CSU Fullerton 4-12 in their last 16 as a home underdog. 1-4 in their last 5 after an ATS win, and 1-4 in their last 5 on Monday. CSU Fullerton, let's face it, they're a middle of the road at best team in the Big West, playing a Mountain West team. Wyoming, they've really put some things together in the last year or so under Jeff Linder. I'd like them to take this game probably by at least 8 to 10 points. The Titans just can't buy a basket half the time. And like we just said, you can't win games if you're not scoring. And facing a Wyoming team that's good on both ends doesn't bode well for you, even on your own floor.
No, and interestingly enough, I don't know if you've ever been out there, but the campus at Wyoming is one of the most beautiful campuses in all of college.
They need a
great.
better name than the Arena Auditorium for their home venue. But
Well, that's true too. I mean, I'm not gonna, it'd be nice if somebody'd sponsor it, make it a little more attractive.
that'll be the Marlboro Arena Auditorium or something.
Right, something out there, something cowboy related, right? That would be good. I mean, or the Chevy Silverado Truck Arena or something along those lines. Something with a little bit of a cowboy, flair to it. But hey, they didn't ask me, so we'll go from there. We're moving on, though. We're going from west to where next?
We're actually going to stay right in the state of California, as we've got
California. Okay.
Yep, we got the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos, which I still find would be one of the most ridiculous mascots in the world. Who names their team after a hat? Taking on the UT Arlington Mavericks, and I'm going to take the Gauchos minus 12. The Gauchos 9th in scoring offense this season. They shoot better than 53% from the floor. They shoot 38.7% from three. Meanwhile, UT Arlington is terrible on defense. They're 301st in scoring defense, 297th in three-point field goal defense, and opponents are shooting better than 78% at the line against them. Meanwhile, UT Arlington doesn't score either. They're 315th in scoring offense at 2 points a game. They only shoot 43% from the floor, and they're one of the 15 worst teams in the nation when it comes from shooting from outside at 26.8%. UC Santa Barbara 4-0 in their last four as a favorite, and 4-0 in their last four as a home favorite. Meanwhile, UT Arlington 2-7 against the spread in their last 9 on the road. They're 1-4 in their last 5 as an underdog. I've already seen the Mavericks lose to some really bad teams. We said they lost to North Texas, and they lost that one by double figures, and the Mean Green doesn't score much either. Now you're going on the road against a team that's in the top 10 in the nation in scoring. UC Santa Barbara should have a field day in this game and win in a game that you can probably turn off at halftime.
Yeah, the UC Santa Barbara thing about the Gauchos. Originally, there were a number of people who wanted the name to be Zorro because Zorro was actually
the UC Santa Barbara Zorros.
The Zorros, right? But the sword would have been a little swashbuckling type thing. But the thing with Zorro was that they used to film the TV show in the Santa Barbara area.
Well, at least there was continuity then.
Yeah, that was it. So they thought, well, this is Zorro is a good thing. And then, of course, they end up deciding to go, the other way. But hey.
We're the hats.
We're the hats. But, it is what it is, right? I can't be too harsh because down the street here in Georgetown, they're named after a rock. So, the Hoy is.
And I guess at least they're not like, Stetson, who are the Hatters. So
right. Yeah, the Hatters, no doubt.
I'd like to see that matchup, UC Santa Barbara and Stetson in the Battle of the Hats.
Right. Tipping the hat. Well, they could actually play the night before the Kentucky Derby, and then you'd have all those hats that they have at the Kentucky Derby. So
there you go. Somebody should just change their name to the Fedoras, and then we'll be all set.
There you go.
We can have a giant hat tournament.
Right. And maybe Washington's football team will take heed to what you're talking about. So
the Washington Kojaks.
Hey, by the way, folks, if you are out there watching us on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Twitch or whatever, like us because we want to be liked. And also,
who doesn't?
And also subscribe. That way that every 1:30 Eastern time or 12:30 or 11:30 or 10:30 or wherever you happen to be in the country or the world for that matter, you're going to be able, we got a like. Thank you, whoever did that. We like you for doing it. So that liking us is a good thing. Thank you very much for doing it. Subscribe is another thing. Also, we're going to give a shout out coming up around 3:00 is going to be Back to the Window with, of course, Scott and Scott. We hope they promote us as well as we promote them, but that's okay. That's
a different story.
That's a different story. But but watch them. They're entertaining as well right here on the Winners and Whiners Sports Betting Network. So
we don't know if Steen went to anybody's house and demanded more pie if you didn't like and subscribe to their show. So you'll have
my
to
understanding is he did not, but you'll have to wait till 3:00 to find out. We'll give them that tease. We'll give them a tease. The most important thing to find out: did he go get pie? I know I did, but I didn't go to anybody else's house. I went to.
I still have pie, so.
But I got pie, right? So there you go. All right, buddy. Where are we headed now?
Now we're going to head to the ice.
Okay.
And it's a battle of Canadian teams that are absolutely terrible this season as the Vancouver Canucks take on the Montreal Canadiens. I'm looking for this one to go over the 5.5 goal mark because if you look, these are two teams that can't keep the puck out of their own net. Vancouver is 27th in goals against by allowing 3.27 goals a night. Montreal is second worst. They go 3.61 goals per contest. And that should really help both these teams who are terrible offensively. Vancouver 29th in scoring, Montreal 28th. The over has actually gone 7-2-1 the last 10 times these teams have met. It's 4-1-1 the last 6 times Vancouver's been a road underdog. The over has also gone 12-5-1 the last 18 times Vancouver's faced an Atlantic Division team. Montreal's seen the over go 5-1 in their last 6 against Western Conference teams. It's 5-1 in their last 6 at home. And in 4 of the last 5 meetings between these teams in Montreal, they found a way to go over the mark. Now, Montreal firing Marc Bergevin over the weekend, so they'll be looking for some new faces. We keep talking about how Travis Green's probably on a short leash in Vancouver. Will Jim Benning pull the plug on him? We don't know. He probably should. This team doesn't listen to him. They don't know how to play defense. They can't stop anyone on the penalty kill. The Canadians should have a prime opportunity to score at least once or twice with the man advantage. And this one's probably going to end up being one of those games where, you think you're watching the Oilers of the 80s with Curry, Messier, Glenn Anderson, and Gretzky, and it'll be like 7-6. So look for the over to come in on this one.
It's really kind of odd to see both Vancouver and Montreal struggle at the same time. Because, if one of them was down, the other one usually was up. But now to see both of those proud franchises languishing is it's a bit disconcerting if you're an NHL fan, and certainly if you're a fan of those particular fan bases. I know myself, I spent 5 years doing radio from Washington, but in Montreal every morning. And it's a great town. It's a wonderful place to go. Vancouver, one of the most beautiful cities in all of North America. And passionate fans. I mean, okay, fine, you may not agree with them often, but passionate fan base on both sides of the country in that regard. So
you're used to seeing Ottawa struggle, but to see both Montreal and Vancouver down on both coasts, it's kind of disconcerting. But I mean, they did it to themselves. I mean, Montreal had that surprise run last season. Nobody expected them to be there, and I think that raised their expectations, and now they've come back to reality.
Mm-hmm. And reality is not good,
right? And Vancouver, they just don't really have the person. They got some young talent, but they don't have the veterans that can carry that team. You've got JT Miller, and then there's not a whole lot else that you can lean on with any consistency.
That's for sure. You know what? Okay, let's move from there and head to
the Battle of the Whipping Boys. We're going to go to Western New York. With the Kraken and the Sabres. Now, normally when we see the Kraken, I talk about how they're going to lose, but they've suddenly won 3 of 4, including stopping the winning streak at home of the Florida Panthers, who were 11-0 at home going into the weekend. And all of a sudden, they only scored 1 goal against Seattle. Now, that's disconcerting.
It is.
Meanwhile, the Sabres are 3-10-1 in their last 14 after that hot start to the year. They're 1-4 in their last 5 at home. They're 1-4 in their last 5 against Western Conference teams. This is the 4th game for Buffalo in the last 6 nights. That's going to definitely put some fatigue on them. They're 6-20 in the last 26 games in that sort of situation. Seattle beat Buffalo 5-2 earlier this month in Seattle. I'm going to take the Kraken on the road. Make it 4 wins in 5 games.
Wow, Chris, you are absolutely a very brave man in this case. Release
Well,
release the Kraken is what Chris King is screaming, huh?
if you look at it, I mean, Buffalo's goaltending has been awful. They're down to Dustin Tokarski and Aaron Dell because Craig Anderson's been out for a month with a lower or an upper body injury. The goaltending hasn't been there. The offense isn't there. I know Don Granato, he's doing the best he can with what he's got. The problem is they're such a disjointed team as far as personnel. There's a lot of youth. There's a lot of guys that are trying to make their way. And it's going to take time for them to get the talent to be a viable contender. I know everybody jumped on the Sabres and said, yeah, look, the Sabres are back because of the first 6 or 7 games. But you know what? They did that last season. They did that season before under Ralph Kruger, and then they went right down the toilet. Kruger got fired. You know, you've seen Ted Nolan get fired. You've seen Lindy Ruff get fired. You've seen all these guys leave town. They haven't been to the playoffs in a decade. Things aren't going to get any better right now. The future might be brighter. Right now, it's pretty dim.
Well, there you go. All right. Our last trip to the ice takes us where, my friend?
We actually have 2 more.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
It's okay. It's a busy night.
Yeah.
This one, the Penguins on the road to face the Flames at the Scotiabank Saddledome. And this is a battle of 2 teams that are actually good defensively. That's a dying breed in the NHL, obviously.
True.
But the Penguins 6th in the league at 2.67 goals per game allowed. And I also like the Flames are leading the league by allowing 2 goals per game. Tristan Jarry of the Penguins 10-4-3 with a 191 goals against, a 936 save percentage, and 3 shutouts. Jacob Markstrom 8-4-4 despite a 181 goals against. He leads the league with 5 shutouts. And if he doesn't go tonight, they'll turn to Dan Vladar, the former Bruins backup, who's done nothing more than go 4-0-1 with a 157 goals against, a 946 save percentage, and 2 shutouts in 5 games. The unders hit in each of the last 3 meetings between these teams. It's 4-0 in the Penguins' last 4 on one day of rest, 5-0 against their last 5 Pacific Division teams. The Flames have seen the under go 5-1 in their last 6 against Eastern Conference teams. Look for this one to stay under 5.5. It'll probably be a 3-2, 3-1 kind of game. It just doesn't look all that exciting.
No, and you're right. The Pens are playing better, and you know, the Flames, you know, have are also a pretty decent team. They're probably middle of the pack situation going on there, but it's, you know, these teams have played each other pretty well over the years. So we'll see how that happens tonight. So moving from the Penguins and Calgary back to our final game on the ice. Where are we going, boss?
We're going to the past and present of Winnipeg. That's right. The Coyotes are coming to town.
Oh, my.
Face the Jets. And I'm going to go here with the Jets with the puck line minus 1.5. The Coyotes last in the league in goals per game. They're averaging 1.86 goals a night this season. When they're on the road, take a look at that number. That's not a typo. 1.33 goals per game. They've scored 16 times in 12 road games. And you wonder why they're 2-9-1 as a road team. Meanwhile, Winnipeg 7-2-1 on home ice. They've got a plus 13 goal differential there. Winnipeg has gone 11-1 in the last 12 meetings between these teams at home. They've won 16 of the last 21 meetings overall. Arizona 3-10 in their last 13 against Western Conference teams. The Jets 6-2 in their last 8 as a home favorite. Take a look for Winnipeg to win this one by at least a couple of goals. Connor Hellebuyck back in net for Winnipeg tonight. I think he'll be able to solve the Arizona offense.
Such as it is. Yeah.
While Scott Wedgwood has his issues in net, Winnipeg wins this one going away.
All right, we've got some. Let me run some questions through here before we hit the hardwood, because a lot of people are interested in your takes on the NBA. Let's start with our friend THC is RZA.
Well, on the NBA, you know, I mean, we're going to get to that in a second. I like Miami tonight, -7 over Denver. Michael Porter Jr. is now reportedly going to undergo back surgery that's going to take him out of the Nuggets lineup for an indefinite period. You look at the fact that Jamal Murray is still recovering from that torn ACL suffered back in April.
Mhm.
You've got Nikola Jokic probably out again with his wrist injury and Bones Highland dealing with an ankle. You're looking at a Denver team that doesn't win on the road, and you're facing a Miami team that's very good on the defensive end of the floor. I like Miami -7 in that one. I also like well,
I was just going to say, Nathan has a quick question for us. Give me your three. Okay.
Now looks like Nate gave his 3.
Yeah.
Oh, the Cavs. Let's see. What do I think about Cleveland? I've never been
nice.
I've never been thrilled by Cleveland. I've got to take a look here. They're playing Dallas. I actually like the Mavericks, just because Cleveland has not had a lot of success on the road. I know Evan Mobley came back the other night, but you're still dealing with Porzingis and Doncic, and that's a tough task for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have Colin Sexton. You're relying a lot on Darius Garland, hoping that C.D. Osman and Lauri Markkanen can help out. I do like Utah over Portland. Portland has been terrible on the road this season. If this game was in the Rose City, it might be a little bit different. But I do like the Jazz at home.
We got 2 more quick ones. THZ again is back, and he wants to know 76ers first half money line.
Why not take the Magic? Because nobody trusts the Magic because they can't score. They can't shoot. They're minus half their rotation. You don't have Markelle Fultz. You don't have Jonathan Isaac. You don't have Cole Anthony. Bamba is dealing with back spasms. That could be another issue for them. And like we said earlier, the 76ers are getting healthy. You've got Embiid back. Tobias Harris is back. Thibault is back. Philadelphia is at home. Orlando's only 3-9 on the road. They've only won 4 games all season. You can't have a lot of faith in the Magic.
No. One more before we hit the hardwood on the NBA side, and that comes back from Nathan. Okay, Nathan, my buddy.
Yeah, I don't think that Orlando +8, or I don't know if I would touch Orlando plus anything at this point, because I'm not concerned that they can put up enough points to compete with anybody.
Well, there you go. Let's get over to the hardwood and the NBA. And thanks for the questions, guys. Keep it coming. We'll be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Yeah, I've got the Wizards over the Spurs tonight down in San Antonio. San Antonio's 3-6 at home on the year. They have Doug McDermott and Devin Vassell both questionable. Jock Landale, Devontae Cacok, and Zach Collins are all out. Meanwhile, Washington 7-2 in their last 9 against teams with winning percentage below 400. They're 18-8 in their last 26 on Monday. San Antonio 2-5 in their last 7 as an underdog, 1-4 in their last 5 after an ATS win, and 1-4 when their opponent gives up at least 100 in their previous game. One big stat, and I know we've talked about it before, Jim, the Spurs are not playing defense the way a Greg Popovich team normally does. They're 23rd in the league in scoring defense. Washington, after all those years of trying to outgun teams 130 to 128, under Wes Unseld, they're 9th in the league in scoring defense, only allowed 105.2 points per game. You have to like Washington, even going on the road here, to get the win.
No question about it. That's the Wizards are playing much better basketball, and they're playing team basketball, which is something.
Right,
when
it's
John
not
Wall was here,
just been Bradley Beal. You've seen other guys step up. The additions of Spencer Dinwiddie, Montrezl Harrell, and Kyle Kuzma have been a major boon while getting rid of Westbrook. It was almost like addition by subtraction.
right?
And then you add those pieces in as well.
Well, that and John Wall, who at times had the ability to play defense, also had the ability to forget how to play defense. So
He also has the ability to forget how to stay healthy.
That's another one. Yeah, there's that too. But yeah, it'll be fun to see how the Wiz do tonight. Let's move on. Where are we going this time, boss?
Not like we were just talking about. I like Utah -7 over Portland. If you look, Portland's 9-1 at home, but guess what? This game's in Salt Lake City, and they're 1-9 on the road. They're 0-7 in their last 7 as an underdog, 0-7 in their last 7 as a road underdog, and they're 0-7 in their last 7 on the road against teams with a winning home record. Going back to last season, Portland's 1-11 in their last 12 road games. Norman Powell will not play for the Trailblazers tonight. Meanwhile, Utah coming off a stomping of New Orleans on the road or at home on Saturday. They're 11-4 in their last 15 at home after scoring at least 125 points. Look for the Jazz to cover this one. As I don't know if there's something wrong with Damian Lillard and stuff, or if it's just a matter of he's trying to do too much. The Trailblazers just are not the same team on the road as they are at home.
Well, basically the same could be said for many teams, but
but I mean that's a massive disparity, 9-1 to 1-9.
Right. The interesting thing about they're playing in Utah, so you figure by the later part of the third quarter, early part of the fourth, and all the way through the fourth, they're going to be gassed because playing in altitude, running back and forth up and down the court, you better have a deep bench, and they don't. Utah's just a much better basketball team. All right. Couple quick questions again from the gang. Real quick here. Let's go back and take a look at Nathan's question for you, Chris.
That's one I think we already saw.
Oh, sorry about that. That's bad.
Okay.
There's THC's coming up. We'll give him this one. I don't think we saw that one.
Yeah, Kuzma does have some bad outfits. I will grant you that.
Okay, so nobody likes his pink long sleeve sweater. I get it, but you got to admit,
watch sooner or later it's going to start trending, and people are going to be selling them by the truckload, and somebody's going to make a whole bunch of money.
That is absolutely correct, my friend. Let's. We have one more NBA game.
One more NBA game. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we going this time, boss?
We're going to go down to South Beach, and we talked about it a few minutes ago when we said the Heat over the Nuggets. Denver minus Michael Porter Jr., minus Jamal Murray, probably without Highland, probably without Jokic. That's a big chunk. You figure that the Nuggets built that team around Murray, Jokic, and Porter Jr., and they probably won't have any of them on the floor. Miami 6-0 at home in their last 6 against teams with a road winning percentage less than 400. They're 7-1-1 against the spread in their last 9 as a home favorite. Denver's 0-6 in their last 6. They're 0-5 when their opponent scores at least 100 points in their last game. Denver's 2-6 on the road. Miami 6-1 at home. More important, Tyler Hero is questionable. He should play tonight. But they still have Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and they've got a rotation where a different guy steps up every night. The other night it was Gabe Vincent scoring 20 points. So that's just it. Eric Spoelstra's team, you can't rely just on shutting down one guy. He's got a whole group of guys.
Well, that's a good point. What Pat Riley's done along with Eric Spoelstra is they've given Miami a very deep and very veteran bench. And all of a sudden, you're not going to get a lot of minutes out of these guys, but you're going to get minutes enough to where you can spell some of your horses there. And it definitely helps from a standpoint of trying to win over a long period of time, because Miami's built for the playoffs. And to get to the playoffs, you need to have your stars rest a little bit. And the way that Pat has brought in guys, I mean, he's got Udonis Haslem still there. I mean, I thought he'd retired 20 years ago, but he's still playing and he's giving a quality minutes. So again, it's Pat Riley's ability as a general manager to get the players, and your point on Eric Spoelstra's ability to make those players fit into the role. It's really some good coaching down there by Eric, which a lot of people haven't really ever given Spoelstra a lot of credit for, but Eric's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, he is. I mean, and the fact that you can see a different guy pop up every night. It's not Morris, it's Vincent, or it's Kyle Lowry, or it's not just Butler and Adebayo. It's somebody else. Right. It's Duncan Robinson. It's Hero. It's everybody. It's a team. It's a very good team-oriented lineup. And that's something a lot of teams lack.
It gets back to that point that I was asking that you were talking about earlier. And we were talking about Pop, right? Popovich had a team-oriented thing. In many ways, Spoelstra, not to the extent necessarily that Pop had it, but Eric runs a team game, and that seems to be his big plus from what's going on. He always coached defense. Riley coached defense with Los Angeles. A lot of people forget that, but he did. And so they build teams that play defense, and then the offense comes along, and you win on turnovers. So they'll turn the ball over a lot.
And Miami, they're in the top 5 in scoring defense this season, and they're still effective offensively. And that obviously, when you can outscore your opponent, and you can stop your opponent from scoring, you're in pretty good shape. And that's why they're right at the top of the Southeast with the Wizards.
Yeah. All right, let's one more hardwood before we go.
We're going to take a look at the exciting Monday Night Football extravaganza.
Oh, how did I forget? No, I know how I forgot. My Washington football team gave me mental break. So, yeah, Monday Night Football on ESPN. If it's exciting, by the way, as last night's game on NBC, this might be a good night to watch The Voice or something other than football. But, we are paid to make sure you know what's going on. So without any further ado, Chris, get to tonight's big game between Washington and, of course, the wonderful folks over
in the Emerald City. But this one coming to you from Landover, Maryland. And I'm going to take the football team +1 over the Seahawks. I'm surprised they're an underdog, really. The line has come down. I think Washington was originally a 2.5-point underdog. It's gone down to 1 now. Washington 4-0 against spread in their last 4 in November, 6-1 in their last 7 games in Week 12. They're 10-2 in their last 12 after picking up more than 350 yards of offense. Seattle 1-6 in their last 7 as a road favorite, 1-5 in their last 6 in November, 0-5 in their last 5 after being held to less than 90 yards rushing. In their last 2 games since Russell Wilson came back, they've scored 13 points. I mean, you're looking at a Washington, yes, they're not that great. They're 4-7, but you have to think about it. They beat Tampa Bay at home as a double-digit underdog. Last week they went on the road. They beat Carolina. All of a sudden, Dallas has lost 3 games in a row now. Philadelphia lost to the Giants in another game that would have put you to sleep yesterday, 13-7. Washington can put another win in here and, put themselves right in the middle of that cluster of teams down there towards the bottom of the playoff picture trying to fight for a wild card spot.
Well, and you brought up a very good point in that Dallas has lost 3 in a row. Washington still plays Dallas twice. And
that's true too.
So you could end up, if you're Washington, and I say this with a great deal of caution, if you're Washington, you could control your own destiny here. If you had a decent, not going to say win out because that's not going to happen, but if you could get, maybe only lose 1 or 2 more games, you might end up winning that division because Dallas is proving, that they are not necessarily as good as they were when they started the season, when everybody was jumping on the Dallas bandwagon.
Right, and I think, that was just it. Everybody got onto the bandwagon because Dak Prescott was back. The offense was putting up big numbers. But it doesn't mean the defense was stopping anybody.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Trayvon Diggs. He's great. Unfortunately, he can't cover everybody on the field, and that's what happened the other day against the Raiders. Anthony Brown getting flagged, 4 times for pass interference? And it ended up costing them the game.
Well, yeah. What was it? Dallas had almost it was almost 200 some odd yards in penalties.
Yeah, because they can't play coverage, and they take dumb penalties. I mean, you should have learned from the first time you got flagged for it. You don't go back and do the same thing again, thinking that they're going to magically not throw a flag on you.
They're going to go, oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't mean it. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, it was accidental. You can bug him.
Yeah, knock him down. It doesn't matter. Oh man, that's
I like Washington here. I don't have any faith in Seattle right now. They're thin at running back. Chris Carson's been out. Alex Collins bothered with a groin. DJ Dallas and Travis Homer hadn't practiced part of last week leading into the game. Their secondary is weak. You're trying to rely a ton defensively on Bobby Wagner. Washington, don't get me wrong, they're not great. Taylor Heineke, though, has proven that he can be a decent quarterback.
Right.
They have a good receiving crew led by Terry McLaurin. Logan Thomas back this week at tight end. Curtis Samuel is supposed to be back this week. Don't sleep on Washington.
They don't mind running, too, which is a good thing.
You got Antonio Gibson. You got J.D. McKissick, who can also catch the ball out of the backfield. You got Jared Patterson. And like we said, we watched Washington beat Tampa Bay on this field just 2 weeks ago, capped by that 19-play, 80-yard drive that chewed up 10.5 minutes and took the hopes and dreams out of Tampa Bay winning that game. Seattle could be in trouble.
One other thing with regard to the game tonight, it's teams that come west to east seem to always have some issues and some problems.
That's true.
And when you come from Seattle all the way over to play, in Landover, it's going to be tough to see. They didn't score, as you said, 13 points
in the last two games.
Russell Wilson is trying to find himself. Had Lincoln not taken the SC job, I wonder if Pete Carroll would have thought about, might not be a bad idea to head back to Southern California. But this is probably Pete's biggest challenge since he's been coach there in Seattle after maybe the first couple of years that he was in position.
Well, right. And I mean, if you look at the way Seattle has played, they've just been anemic. They lost to Green Bay. They didn't score any points. They scored 13 last week and lost to an Arizona team by double digits that did not have Kyler Murray, did not have DeAndre Hopkins, did not have Chase Edmonds, did not have J.J. Watt. Visekahema also not there.
I don't think the mascot
showed up. If you don't know who Visekahema was, you can look him up. He was a good special teams player in the 80s.
He was a good player.
But Aeneas Williams also not there. But
what are you going to do?
Score 13 points against an Arizona team that was that depleted and lose by 10. You have to wonder if this could be the end of the line for Pete Carroll in Seattle, whether he takes a job somewhere else before the season's over or not.
That's a good point. All right, my friend, you ready to go for two for the money?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, two for the money.
I'm going to, like we said, I'm going to take Miami -7 over Denver. Like we just said, the Nuggets are awful on the road. They don't play well. They're banged up. And I like the Wizards over the Spurs because this is not a typical Greg Popovich team. Then I like Washington +1 over the Seahawks just because, like we said, Washington plays well at home. Seattle has not played well anywhere. And I like Wyoming over CSU Fullerton because the Titans are awful defensively. And Wyoming seems to be putting it together again. They've had a couple 20-win seasons a couple years ago under Allen Edwards. He's gone. Now they're reloaded. They could be a factor in the Mountain West this year.
All right, let's go for the show.
And yes, like Michael B. said over there, under 47 is where I'm leaning towards for that one with in regards to the Washington-Seattle game. Seattle has gone under the number in 9 of their 10 games this season, and that includes all 5 of their road games. So I don't expect a ton of points here. I'd be better off watching some basketball or something if you're looking for points. I like the Jazz over the Trailblazers. I'm going to take the Mavericks -6 over Cleveland. Playing at home with Dallas is always a good thing. For some reason, Mark Cuban, when he's there to harass people, things seem to go their way. And the Jets with the puck line over the Coyotes. Like we said, Arizona doesn't score at home. Or I'm sorry, they don't score on the road, and they've had a terrible time going back to their old stomping grounds in Winnipeg.
If you follow what Chris has put up there with 2 Washington teams, you have a chance to bet and get money without it being stimulus money. So that's a good thing. So not a bad deal. Your nation's capital coming through for you tonight on Chris's fourth for the show. Now, we've done the 2, we've done the 4. Now it's time to get crazy. And Chris, go ahead and give us the disclaimer before we reveal who these people are.
Right. This is where we just take everything that we've left out that I think are safe, relatively safe picks. You can take as many of them as you want and put them together. You can take a couple of them. You can take them all. It's like a Chinese menu. You can take one from column A, one from column B, make your own mix, whatever you want to do. But these are just some of the other ones I put in the mix that I think are favorable tonight.
Okay, here we go.
And like we said, I like UC Santa Barbara over UT Arlington. I like the Kraken over the Sabres on the ice. In the NBA, I like the Clippers -6.5 at home over the Pelicans. New Orleans might be good whenever they get Zion Williamson back. Who the hell knows when that's going to be? Who knows if they'll even be anywhere near being in the chase for the play-in by then. I like the 76ers big over Orlando. I just have no faith in the Magic, especially with a healthy Philadelphia team now. I like Oklahoma City and the Rockets to stay under 215.5. We've seen these two teams play twice this season. They split. Sure, everybody's talking about how Houston's won 2 out of 3. That doesn't really matter. They're 3-16. In college basketball, I like Oral Roberts -2 over Tulsa in the battle of teams from the Sooner State. I'm going to take Iowa +2 on the road against Virginia. Tony Bennett's team, 3-3, but they aren't scoring any points. Iowa, they don't have Luka Garza anymore. Obviously, he's in the NBA. But Iowa's still 6-0 this season. Fran McCaffrey knows how to coach his team. And as much as it's going to hurt you, Jim, I'm going to take Boston College -5.5 at home over your alma mater, South Florida. I know I got burned last week when South Florida covered against Auburn at home, but this game's up in Chestnut Hill at the Silvio Conti Forum. It's not down in South Beach. They can't get a sunburn playing beach volleyball before the game. Might get snowburn. That's about it.
Yeah, it's look, I don't hold it against you with the Bulls. And as a matter of fact, it was funny, that game that they played against Auburn last week was part of a very rare thing, and that was a college basketball and NHL doubleheader at the Amalie Arena in Tampa. So the first game was USF, the second game was the Lightning playing at Amalie.
I didn't realize that. What they do? They actually got the floor up in between?
Yeah, I've seen it done in Washington where Georgetown will play a noon game against Syracuse or somebody. They pull the court, the ice, the stuff, the padding that comes off the ice. They pump up the ice a bit more, and by 7:30 you're ready to play. You're ready to play hockey. So I've seen it done before. It's just never been done in Tampa before. So USF plays, the early game against Auburn, and then it's time for the Lightning to play. So there you go in that situation. Well, folks, we really appreciate you joining us today. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, come back and see us tomorrow at 1:30. A little bit later in the day, hang out and check out our buddies Scott and Scott, who will be back to the window here on the Whiners and Whiners Sports Betting Network.
I'm sure they'll have some good stuff for you.
Yeah, we'll find out if Scott actually got his extra pie that he was angling for there.
Or if Rachel got to date anybody's sister because they didn't like and subscribe.
That's dangerous unto itself. But anyway, any final thoughts, Chris, on all of what we've spoken about here today? Some final thoughts on some of the things to look out for, not necessarily just for tonight, but some of the things you're looking at as we head forward to what is going to be our first full week together on the show.
I think the big thing that I'm looking forward to in the next few days, a couple of games. The Thursday night game between the Saints and the Cowboys. We've got two reeling teams coming off losses on Thanksgiving. That's going to be an interesting game. Will Alvin Kamara be back? Will Mark Ingram be back? Will the Saints find a way to move the ball? Obviously, they're going to be playing a Dallas team that can't stop anybody, as we just saw. Right. And then the next Monday night's game is going to be really interesting as well. It's going to be the battle for the AFC East when the Patriots come into Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park and take on the Bills. Battle of 7-4, or Buffalo 7-4, New England 7-3. It's going to be a real entertaining game in Orchard Park. It's the first of two meetings in the next 4 weeks between those teams, because they'll meet again right after Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Well, folks, we really appreciate you joining us today. Again, for Chris King, I'm Jim Williams. Just Parlays. Check us out tomorrow, 1:30. If you missed it, don't worry. It's here. You can go back. You can rewind. You can mark down all the information that Chris gave you. And in the show box below, you'll see the link to Whiners and Whiners. By all means, check out all of Chris's wonderful work there, as well as the work done by so many fine handicappers. So for Chris King, I'm Jim Williams saying so long. For Just Parlays, we will see you tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern Time.